Good morning and welcome back to the second hour of LoveBabz Love Talk on Babz Rawls-Ivy. I'm delighted because I have Dalila, Dalila Eshe on this morning. She is the head coach of the women's basketball team at Yale University. Hello.
Good morning, Babs. How are you? This is
It's nice.
fantastic.
It's nice to see you.
It's nice to see you as well. That was a beautiful picture of you up on the screen there.
Oh, you are kind to say, because you know. So I met you over at my good friend Kay Wholeness hair salon. Here's Kay. And she had been telling me about you for quite some time. And we kind of connected a little bit, and then we kind of like it kind of didn't connect.
Yes.
And then she
Thank
saw
goodness for
me.
Kay, by the way. I've been looking for a hairstylist since I moved to New Haven, so I'm grateful for her.
Oh, Kay is the woman. Let me tell you something. She keeps me tight. Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
So when she summoned me to the salon, which she has the power to do so, uh,
Yes.
and you were there getting your hair coiffed, we had a lovely conversation about basketball, women's basketball at Yale, which and I'm still embarrassed to say this, Delilah. I did not pay any attention to. It was not on my radar. Everybody knows about the men's basketball program,
Yes.
but nobody knows about the women's basketball program. And so
Yes.
I'm
But just
delighted to talk to you about that.
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, this is I'm going into year three, and it's about getting us out there. I mean, James has done a phenomenal job with the men's program, and he's also been there for a very long time. So he's been able to get himself embedded in the community, and us obviously success makes makes a big difference as well. And so I kind of tell my girls twofold, like we got to win, so we got to get the fans in the stand, but we also got to win so they enjoy the product when they come and they want to come back. So we're in the building stage. We're really excited, but we're really I like the young women I get to coach are phenomenal people. So just letting people in the community and throughout New Haven get to know them, I think will help them be more interested.
So you've been here since 2022.
Mhm. Yes,
You've been a professional basketball player.
I
This
have.
is your big coaching job, but you've been a coach before, I think an assistant coach at other places. So tell
Yes.
me about that journey and where did you go to college? Where are you from, first of all?
Where am
How
I
about
from?
that?
Okay. Yeah, let's start there. So I was actually born in Northern California, way north to San Francisco, and ended up living most of my childhood in Tallahassee, Florida. So all through high school, grade school, all of that. Ended up being a Florida Gator, which was a whole big deal because my high school was actually on campus at Florida State University. So we were called,
Wow.
I know, but I couldn't stay that close to home. I needed to go. So I ended up being a Gator. They were not happy about it. Had kind of an up and down college career, but ended my senior year on a fantastic run, probably my best season. Ended up being able to be a draft pick. The first stage of all my dreams coming true. Played 9 years professionally overseas, a lot of different countries. So I played in my favorite country was probably Turkey. I played there for 3 years. I played in Russia, Romania, Prague, Portugal, Taiwan, Ecuador, everywhere. So 9 years, incredible experience. Got to go live and be immersed in other people's cultures and just phenomenal. And then I started my coaching career. I started it as a young coach, as an assistant coach at East Carolina. I was there for 2 years. Made the move to LaSalle to work for a head coach there that had recruited me when I was in high school, so I knew him very well. Um, and then ended up transitioning to another head coach. But I was at LaSalle for 3 years. And then I made my first move into the Ivy League, and I was an assistant coach at Princeton for 3 years, which the success at Princeton helped me get to Yale and get my opportunity for my first head coaching job.
hmm So eh, that's a lot of movement in
It
women's
is.
basketball, which I don't know if people are aware that women can or folks can move about in basketball this way. When you were a professional basketball player, athlete, I imagine, Dalila, that it looks very different than what men experience.
Absolutely, it does. And we're talking now, I'm gonna age myself a long time ago. So the growth and to anybody out there that is a women's basketball fan, it's been an incredible year for women's basketball. And on the college side, but also we just wrapped up the WNBA championship with the New York Liberty. Were able to finally win their first WNBA championship, which was awesome to watch. But the quality of basketball is just gotten so much better on the women's side. It is so much fun to watch. And this is even speaking from a coach. There were times, probably about a decade ago, where you're watching some of the professional games and the games are just, they're not hitting shots on the same level. It's just not as fun. But this era right now in women's basketball is unbelievable. It's a really, really fun time to be a part of the sport and to actually see the growth of the sport. Back in my day, it was still, in the up and coming. But I think we've kind of arrived. We have some really talented young women.
And so, how soon do you think the pay equity will happen?
So I'm always one of the ones with sports where I totally am supportive of the argument, but I will also say, like, it's entertainment. And so it also comes about as you get more fans in the stands. And I think we're probably right on the cusp of starting to see the equity because these, like, even just speaking specifically from just the WNBA finals that we just watched. And so that was Minnesota and New York. Every one of their games was sold out, well over 20,000 fans, incredible environment. You can look back just 5 years ago at these same teams, same games, and the stands are probably about 40-50% packed. And that's direct revenue at the end of the day. So you have to see both things come into play. The quality of play has gotten significantly better. The fan excitement and selling out crowds and stuff like that is now going to start to enhance the pay. But you have some owners that are doing some phenomenal things as far as like chartering the women's players now in the WNBA and trying to equal out some of the pay. So we're not very far away. The goal, I have two young daughters, and if they want to be hoopers, they can do whatever they want. But if they want to be hoopers, I hope by the time that they get into the pros, it will be equal.
Wow. I like that. So what do you think is going to require to grow professional women's sports, basketball in particular? What do you think is required?
The most important thing, obviously, is the quality of the game, right? Fans want to be entertained. And I always say, defense wins you championships, offense brings fans to the stands because that's what they like to watch. So the higher volume, faster paced basketball, and you see kind of there's been some spiciness, shall we call it, in women's basketball lately. So there's been some good rivalries. There's been a lot of interest in the media. There's been like explosions through social media and stuff like that. All of that personality coming out as well as the product being very good brings a lot of interest to our sports. I mean, the viewership is up in incredible numbers. You just see some of the TV ratings and stuff. And this happened as well in college basketball this past season. So it just is, it's right there because the quality of the game has gotten better. And now you're getting to understand the personalities of the women that are playing the sport.
So you come to take over the head coaching position at Yale, and you got a team. How many women on your team?
This season, we have 13 on the team.
13. And so you come in with a vision
Mm-hmm.
and then you get there and you have to what's the first thing that you do?
Ooh, the first thing is about establishing the culture. And I think that's what's been these first 2 years, that's pretty much what it's been about. And every coach has their own identity, their own things that they're passionate about infusing into their players. And so that's kind of what we mean when we talk about culture. But my biggest thing is just like bringing the passion and the energy to the court. And I say it to the players all the time, like, when fans come to watch us play, I want them to walk away and understand who we are, that we're incredibly passionate. We're going to work until the buzzer goes off. We're going to play as hard as we possibly can. We are going to dive all over the floor. It's going to be high energy, a lot of fun. They're going to see us celebrating each other because that's what's going to bring people back to the games at the end of the day. And so infusing that culture into my team has been the focus of the first 2 years. This third year, like going into this next season, this is the first time that I've been able to have a big recruiting class that we've been working on for an extended period of time. So we're really excited. We have some incredible players returning, but we also have a group of 5 freshmen and then a transfer. So we have 6 new players. So we have a pretty good balance coming in this season. It's just really exciting. Now, I always say this, they're babies. They're going to be freshmen. They're going to have their adversity because that's the reality, but they just come in with the energy and the culture that I've been trying to put in place. And it just has been really exciting these last couple months.
And so when you when you go recruit, Dalila, what do you say? Like when you go out there, I mean,
Yeah.
do you start on campus like, we got women's basketball here? I mean, do you start there like, because I don't think anybody is thinking
Yeah.
sports at Yale. But we know the
No.
football team, we know the
Yes.
men's basketball team, and we know some of the others, hockey and all that other kind of stuff because
Yes.
they've gone beyond the Ivy League bubble, right?
Hmm.
They've jumped into some national attention with some of that. So what do you say? How do you recruit? What do you say to these women?
Yeah, that's a great one. How you pitch it. So, for people that don't know, like women's basketball in the Ivies, women's basketball in the Ivies over the last decade, and it has gotten is it incredibly talented. So we always compare to what we call like the P5, and so Power Five are like all of the bigger schools that you think about, like SEC, ACC type programs. When we are recruiting, if we're not recruiting in battles versus some of these high academic Power Five schools, so like a Duke or a Northwestern or Stanford or something along those lines, we're not winning the Ivy Leagues because the talent has gotten so much better. So a lot of the players that we're recruiting already kind of know the talent level in the Ivy Leagues. And the biggest thing for them to understand is two. One is that you're getting the best of both worlds. So you can come to Yale, you can get the best education in the entire world, but you also are now not sacrificing your basketball career. If you're a hooper, you also want to be a hooper. You don't want to just go to an Ivy League school. You want to play competitive basketball. And we're in a place right now where you're not sacrificing either. You're getting the best of both worlds. In my time at Princeton as an assistant coach, we were a top 25 program. I had a post player that was one of my position kids that went number 5 in the WNBA draft. So we have incredibly talented players. And so I tell the kids, I'm like, I came from this program in the Ivies. I know what success looks like. I know how to build it, and I know the pieces that we need. And part of what I say to them is like, don't sacrifice, get the best education. And now let's have the best basketball career you can have as well, because you can be a draft pick, you can be a pro, and you can come out of Yale with one of the best educations in the world.
Mm, that's you make me want to suit up. That's a good
Yeah,
doggone
Babz, let's
pitch.
go.
That's a good pitch. Um,
You ready to sign up? I got a jersey for you. Come on,
Girl,
let's go.
listen, I'll be a good water girl. How about that? My hoop days are so
I'll
far
take it. I'll
behind
take
me.
it.
So let me switch a little bit because I don't want to leave this conversation without talking about professional women's sports, and we'll come back to talking about the team that you're building in the upcoming season, what that looks like. But we were all holding our breath with Miss Griner being held in prison in
Oh
Russia,
yeah.
and you having been overseas and understanding what that's like to work overseas, and she was working here too and working overseas
Yeah.
to sort of increase her pay.
Hmm.
That's a real thing for professional women's sport, and I think men have some of that too, but the pay scale is so much higher. But I mean, what was you thinking? Because you've been in that country and
I know.
played with these folks.
Oh yeah. Well, first to Brittany Griner, like I will tell you this. uh, all the seasons that I played overseas, Russia was a big deal to me because at the time, Russia was considered the best women's basketball league. So because they had some of the best Europeans, but every single top WNBA player went over to play in Russia. They also paid the most money. So it's like one of those moments in my career where I felt like I had checked a box, right? Getting a huge contract, being able to go play in Russia. I'm like, I've arrived. This is amazing. I honestly, it was my worst basketball season, and not actually on the court. I was miserable in Russia. I was unhappy. Even when I came home, my mom said for the first time in her life, she felt like I had depression. And it took me a couple months to shift back to my normal, like light self, just because of the culture there. So when I heard about Brittany Griner, I literally, like, my heart dropped. I couldn't, I mean, like, was broken to pieces because I couldn't imagine how that felt. I was in an environment where I was on a team, I was taken care of, everything was fine, and I still was unhappy. So being held and detained in Russia and in their prisons, I can't even fathom. And it just is a testament to how incredibly strong she is as a human being to be able to come back and get her life back on track after just a brutal experience like that. So gut wrenching, heartbroken. I think everybody in the women's basketball community, and even throughout the world and throughout sports who deeply understand being overseas, just really felt for her. So happy to have her back stateside. She'll probably never go back overseas. But then to talk about, so the biggest difference for people to understand with the women's game is the WNBA is only played in the summertime, and the salaries are very low. They've increased significantly, and the players right now that are making the most money have endorsements, but the salary is still obviously too low. So essentially, you play summertime here in the States, and then you start to head overseas right about now. Some of the teams that lost before the finals of the WNBA, players are already overseas playing.
So
I
the
follow a lot
Griner
of them.
thing, so Dalila, the Griner thing didn't stop women from going to play. I mean, it's just
It didn't stop people from going to play. I don't think as many players are going to Russia. I have not heard of very many players actually going to Russia. So I think it might have shut that down. But you still have players going to Spain and France and Turkey and a lot of countries where you don't hopefully worry about that as much, but they absolutely are still going. And you have to understand, like, these salaries are $1 million salaries. The ones they were making in Russia were $1 million salaries, or at least really, really high six figures when you're going into Turkey and France and Spain. And it is a fraction of the amount in the WNBA. So for them, and your body only lasts so long, why not go overseas for 5 years and make a lot more money? And you can still come back and play in the States. And so I know that outside of the experience, which is incredible, I know players don't necessarily want to go overseas. If we're being honest, you want to be at home, you want to be around your family. It's hard, it's glamorous and it's cool and it's all the fun stuff, but it is really hard to be away from your family for 9 months out of the year, and only back for a short stint in the summertime. So the ideal would be for salaries to get more leveled out where players don't have to go overseas.
Mm. Thank you for that. Thank you for that
Absolutely.
insight. I appreciate that greatly. So you're the head coach of Yale. You've got this new season coming up. This is like this is you done built the team, and now this is the season where you see what works and what doesn't work. When does the season kick off?
We start off November 4th at home. We're actually at home in a doubleheader with the guys, which should be pretty fun. We play Monmouth at 5 p.m. and I think maybe the guys start at 7:30 or 8, so pretty quickly after us. They'll get a warm-up round in, and then they'll start the game. So that'll be a lot of fun. It'll be a great opportunity for us to open it up at home. The last 2 years, we've actually opened up on the road.
Okay. And so, all right. So, what are your hopes and wishes for this team this year? Because this is year
Yeah.
three, and it's big.
Yes, it is. It's huge. It is. The first and foremost is I tell them we just need to feel ourselves. We need to feel the progress. And then everybody surrounding needs to feel the progress. Everybody wants to feel the upward momentum, the upward trajectory that we're building. And so I think probably having a really successful non-conference is big for us. And so that means like we might drop one or two games. So we play 13 non-conference games. I would like to win 10 of those in non-conference, if I'm being honest. And then you get into the Ivy League conference play. And so Ivy League tournament time, they only take the top 4 teams in the Ivy League by the end of the season. And so for us to get in that top 4 and play in the championship round in the Ivy League tournament is what we're pushing towards. If we do that, then we will be able to play in postseason. So that's kind of like our threefold, and we take it in like little chunks. We try to have the team focus on smaller goals at a time. So we're focused on non-conference, and then we'll jump into what conference looks like, and then the big picture.
Mm. And so, when I talked to you at the salon Harris K Salon over there in Munson Triangle. Um, you told me your wife is a basketball coach. Y'all a basketball
Mhm.
house, and your friends are
Yeah.
basketball people.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that. Tell us where she's coaching.
Yes. Okay. So she is currently the head coach at Central Connecticut State, and she's going into her second season. Very exciting for her as well. Same thing, rebuilding a culture, rebuilding a team. They had a pretty solid first year, and she has a big chunk of new players, so it should be a lot of fun. But in kind of our basketball world and our basketball tree, of our daughter's godmother is also an assistant coach at UConn. Um, and so she was there for the first 15 years. She's actually won 5 national championships. She left UConn to be the head coach at Temple, where my wife was her associate head coach. They worked there for 15 years before this new transition. And that's the time when I was at LaSalle, which was in Philly as well, and then was commuting to Princeton. So total basketball world. My children are surrounded by female basketball coaches, strong females, all in the basketball world. So we're like solidified in the state of Connecticut. If I don't have a game, my babies are at the Central Connecticut game. If not, if neither of us do, we're at the UConn game supporting Godmom there and their team. So it's really exciting.
So do you and your wife have a conversation about each other's teams? Like, do you take her advice? Does she take your advice? Or do you know when they're like, okay, let me mind my little Yale business over
Yeah.
here so she can mind her little Connecticut business over there?
Yes, yes. Well, if you know us, anybody that knows us well, we have very different personalities. So we very much value each other's opinion. It's fun to have somebody else that really, really understands the business and the expectations and everything across the board. So being able to bounce different things off of each other is fantastic. But she's got a little bit more like feisty in her. And so sometimes when we're talking about discussions, I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, that's your thought process on it. This is my thought process on it. So we're just going to stay, you know what? We're just going to separate this one. But it's fun. It's a lot of fun. We help each other out a lot. And then we also call Tanya as our kids. She's basically like our sister, our kids' godmom, and we'll call her a lot as well and bounce things off of her and get different plays and offenses and stuff. So yeah, it's incredible. It's an awesome little world. The basketball world in general is very, very small. I have a lot of friends that were pro players and now are transitioning into coaching. One of my best friends in the world, we've known each other since we were 13 playing basketball together, is now the head coach at Colgate. So it's a small world. So we have a lot of people to reach out to, which is really nice. It helps support a lot.
I think it's rather, I think listen, it's not lost on me that you are a woman of color.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes,
is your wife a woman of color too?
she is as well. And so is our children's godmom.
And so I'm seeing all these women of color stepping into these roles, which I don't know if that was possible 10 years ago, 5 years ago. What do you make of that?
Yeah, so that was one of the big things, even in my hiring here at Yale. I'm the first Black female ever in Yale women's basketball history as a head coach. And
Ooh.
so this was the first time in the Ivy Leagues that actually Carrie Moore, I'll give her a nod. She's the head coach at Harvard right now, Black female as well. We both were hired together. So same year. And it just is, it is a push for me, first foundationally is like more females in the sport, right? We're the ones that play the sport. And at the end of the day, we have felt the nuances of playing, of the pressure, and it's different on the women's side than it is on the men. So being able to be led by a female coach is a big deal. When I was going through my college process, I made the decision to go play for a Black female. And it was really important to me. She also was a post player. She was tall, the way she presented everything, the representation was incredible. I think it also, as a young person, in all of my dreams, it gave me the visual of like, oh yes, I can be a pro, but I also can be a head women's basketball coach of a big program. So it's a big deal. Representation, I don't think that we can stress enough how important it is. Like having conversations and different incredible, but being able to just see somebody in the role that looks like you is so impactful. And it means a lot to our young women. My staff, even, I pride myself on having a diverse staff. We're all females. One of my assistant coaches is Asian. We have Asian players on the roster. We have international players. We have a fair amount of young women that are of color. And so the diversity, even, is an incredibly important piece to me. And that's part of the reason I want the community to see this team. If you don't have any visual of what Yale women's basketball looks like, you can start to make assumptions. But come out and see the team and see who these young women are. And even on me, and my responsibility is getting them out into the community and letting young girls that aspire to be in roles of leadership or play a sport. It doesn't even have to be basketball, to see how diverse this team is that is at this incredibly high academic institution, and allowing themselves the ability to dream and know that they can make it to this platform as well is huge.
Wow, that's pretty. So is there association of I bet there's an association of Ivy League coaches, women coaches, and then an association of just women coaches, all sort of trying to support each other and further the awareness and the opportunities for women in basketball. I mean, is there
Yeah.
such a thing?
Yes, there are. So we have obviously our big overarching one through it's called the WBCA, but this Women's Basketball Coaches Association. There's also a Black Female Head Coaches Association that is kind of structured and run by some of our top Black female head coaches. So when you think of like South Carolina and Don Saley now being
Yeah.
yeah, multiple national championships. She does an incredible job of branching out to young Black female head coaches and just trying to help pull them along and share any of her knowledge. And so there's an incredible base there. There's a Asian association. So there's a lot of different like minority coaching groups, but there's also just a foundationally like a women's one where you're pulling women in, trying to pull them up, give them more opportunities to be in the roles that they want to be in, which a lot of them are aspiring to be head coaches at Division I programs.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. And so how long is your season?
The season is pretty long. College basketball is probably one of the longest seasons of college sports because when we get on campus in August, we're already starting we're starting preseason. Now we're in official practice. So our season starts at the beginning of November. And if we play as long as we want to play, it's towards the end of March. And
Whoa.
then all of the students are done at the beginning of May. So you really are in season the whole time you're in school.
That's pretty cool. So you get to know these young women, you get to know who they are. You spend time with them. I'm sure you mentor them. You make sure they stay on top of their studies. You probably know their
Yes.
families. Is that because I
Yeah.
remember that when I was a basketball player in just high school and college, I remember the kind
Mhm.
of care that coaches would provide. Is that still the case?
Oh, it absolutely is. I read this thing. So one of the things I've always known young was when I started playing basketball. I wanted to be a pro and I knew I wanted to be a Division I head women's basketball coach. And part of that for me was the responsibility of mentorship. And I've had in my lifetime some incredible coaches and I've had some real bad coaches, and both of them impact you. And understanding how important this role is. I remember I read something a long time ago that said coaches are the second most impactful person in a young person's life next to their parents. And that is an incredible responsibility when you think about
Hmm.
it. But it is because of exactly what you said. We are so much more a part of their lives than just coaching basketball. We recruit these kids a lot of times starting as early as ninth graders, and we talk to their parents and we talk to all of their coaches surrounding them. Like we have really deep relationships before they even get on campus. And I always say to my student athletes, like college is about becoming a young adult. You go through so many ups and downs. I mean, outside of just being an athlete, just figuring out who you are as a person. And so a lot of the lessons and the things that we talk to them about help them become strong, powerful young women when they get out of college and capable and able to lead and get through hard stuff. And so there's so much more to it that's just simply about mentoring outside of the sport, which I think is a part that I love the most and was the most excited about, being able to play in this role, but also really understanding the responsibility of it at the end of the day.
Hmm. Now, do you have any time honored things that you do when you start the season? Like, is there a lucky sweater or a lucky charm or like your favorite, I don't know, bra? Like what is
Yeah,
the
yeah, that's a good one. When I was a player, I always had these weird things. I'd like have my nails painted, and then if they were painted a certain color and I didn't have a good shooting game, it was the color of nail polish. Absolutely. Like all of that. I don't think I've had as much of that as a coach, but you know what? Maybe I need a little bit. I just know I need my coffee. I'm not that superstitious, but maybe this year I'll find something that I'm like, I need this. This is gonna be our year. This is our turning page.
Well, I was listening to the UConn men's coach on Good Morning America, and
Yes.
he and his wife were on, and they have a whole bunch of these things, like if they get on a
Yeah.
winning streak, they have to keep the same sandwiches, the same,
Yes.
all the
Yeah.
little funny, quirky things, and I thought that is elaborate, right?
It's elaborate. I think part of my thing is like I don't have enough energy to do that. I'm also trying to raise a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old, and I won't even be able to remember it. I'm trying to remember their vitamins and their lunch and their water bottle.
And believe me, that is a lot.
Yes.
That is a lot. Well, I so appreciate you taking the time this morning to talk to me. I want to help get the word out about women's basketball at Yale. I just think you have the great energy, and I think this community should embrace you and come and support your games. And I've got your schedule. I'm gonna start posting it up, and I just hope people just come and see what women's basketball at Yale looks like.
Thank you so much, Babz, for this platform. It's really about the young women, and I want them to feel that environment. I want the community to embrace them because they think that they are, just an awesome example of leadership across the board. And so that's hopefully the goal. So let's all get out there, get to the first game, and give us a shot, and let's see our energy and our passion for the game. I bet you'll want to come back.
I think you might be right about that, ma'am. I think you might be right. Well, I look forward to seeing you out here, and I'm gonna try to make it to a couple of these games. I'm gonna bring some folks with me, see if
Let's
they
go.
want to check out the games, and we're gonna go Bulldogs, right? That's the
Go
Bulldogs.
Bulldogs. I love it.
Go
Yep,
Bulldogs.
Bulldog.
Lady
Go Lady
Bulldogs.
Bulldogs.
All right. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Dalila. I appreciate
Thank
you.
you.
Have a
Have
good
a wonderful
weekend.
morning.
You too. Take care.
Okay.
All right, Harry Jones, we're out. Thank y'all. And I'll be back tomorrow with Enru so that we can connect to our ancestors. We miss him and it's time to connect to the ancestors. So and thank you to Dalila, head coach over at Yale. We're gonna go to some games. We're gonna go check out them Lady Bulldogs and Bula Bula. So I'll see y'all soon. Bye. Mm-hmm.